Well, let's now return to the darlings of the market, the PSUs. And on our radar now is the PSU Bank. Bank of Baroda, it's raised 4,500 crores through a QIP, a fairly successful QIP. Jan D'Souza, Chief Financial Officer at Bank of Baroda, joins us now. Mr. D'Souza, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. Can you start by telling us what will your capital position become after the QIP? What is the CET, the common equity, the full CRAR?
Our total capital adequacy will, before we started this, was around close to 9%. So it will be about 70 basis points higher than that. So it's closer to 10% now. And that directionally, that's what we'd like to have it at. So to give you a bit of background about capital raising, it was largely to capture the recovery in the cycle that we see and the recovery in the demand for credit. Largely, we are a corporate bank. So while we are focusing on growing our retail book, we expect that the corporate demand for credit and good corporate credit will come back in the next year. So largely, we have raised capital to account for that return of the corporate cycle.
So talking a little bit about credit growth, you did a 6.3% credit growth as of Q3. What's the target for Q4, which is almost over, and what will you do by the end of the fiscal FY22?
Largely for FY22, I think it will be in the double digits, but that predicates on the fact that the cycle comes back, demand is there is good quality corporate credit, and there will be continued growth in our retail book. So you've seen, while overall you're right, we grew about 7% till December year on year, but the retail book grew at around 13%.
Okay.
So much stronger growth on retail, but of course the growth, the base was a low base, so you don't see that uptake on the overall book.
I get that, Mr. D'Souza, but if you are getting double-digit credit growth, for how long will this capital suffice?
No, if you take into account our internal accruals, we should not raise it not before March of 2022.
Okay. Will you do any non-core asset sale in order to raise capital?
So that will come into account in terms of, I presume you're referring to subsidiaries. We will consider that in a 12 to 24 month period. We have a life insurance venture. We may consider it there. But coming back to the capital raise, I wanted to spend a few minutes on the whole capital raise, because there have been some media coverage of it, but I thought I could present our side, the way we saw it from our eyes. So in terms of, I think this has been the quickest capital raise in terms of, we started this process on the 1st of February, and by 25th of February, we had more or less wrapped it up, and we closed the issue formally on last Tuesday. So I think in terms of speed and the coverage, in terms of the number of investors, we did roadshows over 7 days and met more than 70 investors spread across the geographies. And the fact that we live in a virtual world helped us to cover the entire spectrum, right from Asia to the Americas.
Okay. No, congratulations. I'm sure this is one of the fastest fundraisings by banks. But who were the marquee investors? Did you have any big names in terms of sovereign wealth funds or big PEs?
We had significant demand from long-only funds. We had almost 57% of the book subscribed by long-only funds. We also had a demand of almost 3 times the amount, close to 3 times the amount that we wanted to raise. So while we had a base book of around 2,500 crores with a green show of 2,400, we had close to 12,500 crores of demand. So I think that was something that was very heartening in terms of the demand for our paper and the significant investor interest, despite the rapid run-up in our price over the last 1 year.
Okay, let me talk about asset quality now. Your overdue loans, you said, were 22% of the domestic book as of Q3. What is the situation at the moment?
So I think we should see a pullback, but it's too early to tell. While you rightly mentioned that we've seen most of the quarter over, but I think significant work is being done even now as we speak. So I wouldn't like to hazard a guess. I'd rather wait till the quarter ends and then talk about it along with the results commentary. So if you only look at the SME 1 and 2, it is just about 5%.
No, I take that. It's more SMA 0 and moratorium that I guess is getting counted. But post your restructuring, would you fear more bad loans? Or would you say you're more or less sure GNPAs, gross NPAs have peaked off?
So if you see, largely we are a corporate bank, and if you see the fact that this corporate stress has been there before the COVID pandemic as well, I think a lot of it has played through on top of the corporate side. And secondly, we have a very high provision coverage ratio of around close to 85%.
Yes.
So largely, I think on the
Yes.
corporate side, the story has played out. We have had, some requests for restructuring as well. So on the corporate side, I don't think that there should be significant surprises going ahead. On the retail side, if you see that actually the LGDs are significantly low, so it's not likely to impact us as adversely.
Okay. Well, what kind of recoveries are you penciling in? I mean, Bhushan Power and DHFL are close to resolution, right?
So while you're right, these are all well-reported cases, but when it will come in, it's difficult to predict because these have been spoken about for a while now. So whether it will come in before March or after March in the next quarter, I can't really predict the timing of it.
All right. All right. I'll let you go on that note. Mr. D'Souza, thank you very much. I did want to ask you about privatization, but since you warned me in the break that this is the promoters' issue and out of syllabus for you, I'm not asking that question, but I think the market really wants to know about whether y'all are in that list or not. We'll take a break on that note, but mid-caps have been the flavor of the season, even